I agree with the romantic child theory that children start off with a clean slate and the people around them kind of, I guess, persuade them or help develop them into who they are as a person. But I also think that children have a mind of their own because you've seen many cases where children don't always believe in what their parents believe. But in today's day and time, to be a child in 2019 is a lot different from when I was growing up and how to be a child in the early 2000s was, because there weren't there were iPods, but there weren't like iPads and tablets and like unrestricted access to the internet. We had timers on TVs that restricted and parental controls that restricted certain shows. So I would never see half the stuff that someone younger would see in today's day and time, which would expose them to more, I guess, more real world scenarios. Because the more unrestricted it gets, the more children are exposed to things that a parent may or may not want them to see at such a young age, which might alter development or alter the way that they think or see things. But my impression on the current social construction of childhood is that I think that it's gotten a little bit more lenient and less more constructed, if that makes sense. I think that it depends on the parent, the where in the world the child is growing up, who they're growing up with, and exactly how the kid, like the parent, is trying to grow, like help the child grow up. Because I've seen articles where a parent has made the child's closet gender neutral, where they'd have boy clothes and girls clothes, and the child would have to pick for themselves what gender they want it to be, which is a good way for parents to let the child decide who in life they want it to be. But in a different century, it wouldn't have been like that. You would have had to wear whatever your parents told you to wear, and it wouldn't be until adulthood where a child may come out as who they truly felt like they were. What features of society are relevant to contemporary children? Definitely technology and the news. I think the news plays a big role on children and how they act, and also the environment they're in. Because if you're in an environment which believes one thing, that's all you're going to see growing up. So, not saying the person will end up just like the people they're around, but it'd be more likely that they would believe in the same things. And what effects have those features had on their roles in society? Like I was saying, like I feel like who you grow up around, has a big part to play in who you grow up to be. So, say my parents hated this type of person or this thing, I would more than likely grow up to hate the same things. Not, and that's not always the case, but it's just 9 times out of 10, it would end up being like that for some reason. I feel like it's really hard for. It's not impossible though. I feel like it is hard for major things to be so different between parent and child, but there are some things I don't agree with on my parents' end that we have differences with, but those differences didn't come up until I was old enough to actually understand them. So as far as political parties, if you asked me as a child, I've been like, yeah, I associate with the same political party my parent associates with, but nowadays maybe my parents and I have different political standings. But I didn't fully understand it in its full capacity to even have an opinion on it as a kid. What factors influence the construction of childhood now? Also, I do think that as far as books are concerned, the type of books the child is exposed to plays a huge role on who they are. Um, I do believe in the romantic child, a clean sheet, blank sheet, slate where the sheet begins to fill up with experiences. And I think that goes for anybody, really, that your life starts to, the things in your life start to change because of what you're around, what experiences you may have. But I think also that a little adult interference would be something that should be talked about in the near future of how kids develop, because I feel like if there's only kids around kids, you can't really alter the way those children are thinking when there's little to no adult interaction, because at the end of the day, they're children. They need to be children, and without the adults there to monitor that, they're going to end up doing whatever they want and feeling however they want.